week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you for joining me once again today as we recap not only NASCAR action this week, but it was the first round of the Verizon IndyCar Series this weekend, so we got a lot of stuff for you. We got both stock cars and open wheel cars to talk about this weekend, so let's get right into it, and we'll talk about Saturday. That was the Xfinity Series. They were in Phoenix for the 14th annual DC Solar 200 from the ISM Raceway in Phoenix. 200 laps around this kind of oval track. Not completely oval, but might as well be oval. So, Brad Keselowski wins this one, picks up his first Xfinity Series victory of the season, leading 66 of the 200 laps on his way to this victory. Justin Allgaier had a very strong outing on the day, coming home in second, picking up the stage victory in stage number 1, and leading the most laps in the event, 76 of them to be precise. Your other main contender on the day was Kyle Busch. He came home in the third position, also winning the second stage. He led 39 laps on the day. Rest of the top 5, Christopher Bell came home in fourth after leading 5 laps. And Jamie McMurray, our pick on the day, his first Xfinity Series race, and I couldn't even tell you how long, comes home in the 5th position in that Chip Ganassi Racing number 42 car. Rest of the top 10, Daniel Hemrick, Matt Tifft, Cole Custer, the final car on the lead lap in 8th, Elliott Sadler, and Tyler Reddick rounding out the top 10 with 2 Junior Motorsports cars. Other notables down through the field: Ty Dillon comes home in the 13th position. Spencer Gallagher in 14th. Austin Cindric finishes his first race of the season in the 60 car without incident. And Ryan Reed comes home in a disappointing 18th position. So, as we go ahead and scroll through the remainder of the finishing order over here on the left-hand side of the screen, we'll go ahead and slide our way over to the media center, and we will see what Brad Keselowski had to say on Saturday after his first Xfinity Series win of the season in the DC Solar 200.
Yeah, it was an up and down day. I think first thing is kind of credit to NASCAR for just getting it in and having the resiliency or whatever the right Nate Ryan word is for sticking it out to make it happen. So, that I think deserves a lot of credit. You wouldn't think there'd be a lot of rain like there was today in the desert, but we can find it. So we found it and got through it. So that was really impressive to see. And then we had a really excellent car to work with here today, and Brian Wilson and the team did a great job. I made a few mistakes and probably didn't do a great job driving it, and giving it the probably the due it had in it. But proud to bring home the result. It's been a kind of a weaker track for me, so it feels good to bring one home and hopefully be able to look at it a little bit differently for tomorrow and learn a few things.
And we'll quickly take a look at the Xfinity Series points after 4 races now. And as we can see at the top here, Tyler Reddick's still at the top, as he is still the only Xfinity Series regular to have won an Xfinity race thus far. And Elliott Sadler still sits atop of the points of the guys that have not won a race yet. But as we can see here, below that, that's where things start to change. Justin Allgaier bumps up one spot with his strong run in Phoenix, and Christopher Bell down 1 spot to 4th. Daniel Hemrick jumps 4 spots all the way up to the 5th position. That bumps Spencer Gallagher down 1 spot. Ryan Reed dropped 2 spots down to 9th. Cole Custer jumped 2. He is now officially in the playoff grid in 11th. And that bumps Kaz Gralla and Ross Chastain, both down 1 spot apiece. So that is the Xfinity Series points following Saturday's race at Phoenix, the DC Solar 200. Now let's look at the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. They were also at Phoenix this weekend for the 14th annual Ticket Guardian 500 from the ISM Raceway, 312 laps. And if there were any naysayers whatsoever after Kevin Harvick's debacle in Vegas last week with the pushed-in rear window, he has silenced them now. Kevin Harvick wins his third straight race in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series and his ninth overall at the ISM Raceway in his career, 40th win of his career in the Cup Series. Just an absolutely huge performance out of Kevin Harvick. He didn't lead a lot of laps in this one, but he was up front the entire day. And he was showing he was one of the classes of the field. Really, I think the class of the field for most of the day was Kyle Busch. He ended up in second, leading 128 laps on the day. Kevin Harvick only led 38. But he was up there most of the day, as you would expect him to be at Phoenix, as this has just kind of become his track in recent years. You always expect Kevin Harvick to run up front. Even if he doesn't dominate the thing, you know he's going to be up there. Chase Elliott comes home with a strong run in third. Chase is one of those guys that it's one of those tracks that he has really come on strong at. There's a lot of tracks that we've seen Chase Elliott put together some good runs at. Phoenix seems to be one that he is really consistently being really good at. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. round out the top five. Denny Hamlin led 33 laps on the day. Strong performance out of him as well. Rest of the top 10, Clint Bowyer, Eric Almirola, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, and Kurt Busch. Interesting to note, 4 of the top 10 were Stewart-Haas racing cars. 4 of the top 10 were JGR cars. That just leaves 2 spots remaining, and technically you could say there's a 5th JGR car in there with Martin Truex Jr., so really that only leaves 1 spot for the Hendrick Chevy of Chase Elliott. Just interesting how the top 10 shook out. It definitely was a JGR and Stewart-Haas racing kind of day. Other notables throughout the field, last spring's Phoenix winner Ryan Newman comes home in 11th. Tried some strategy near the end, didn't quite work. Strategy was what got him the win last year in Phoenix. Didn't quite pan out for him this time. William Byron comes home with his best finish of the season in 12th. I think we can officially not sound the warning bells on William Byron, as I was saying we might want to last week. Luckily, I think they're going to be just fine this season. He may not win a race, but I think he is going to be competitive. Alex Bowman comes home in the 13th spot. I think I expected a little more out of him in Phoenix, this being the track when he was filling in for Dale Jr. in that 88 car that he almost won at. He was never a factor. Never a factor. Ran decent throughout the day, but was definitely a mid-pack car and never really got up there. So a little disappointing out of Alex Bowman. Like I said, I expected more out of him. Just didn't quite produce. Still a good run, but not what I was expecting out of Alex Bowman. The 4th Hendrick car comes home right behind them in 14th. That will be Jimmy Johnson. A very slow day for the Penske cars. They come home 15th for Brad Keselowski, 16th for Ryan Blaney, and 19th for Joey Logano. Brad Keselowski being the only one of those guys on the lead lap, he being the last car on the lead lap in 15th. Let's see other notables down through here. Obviously, the Xfinity race didn't prove to be much help for Jamie McMurray, coming home in the 26th position. Bubba Wallace finishes in the 28th position. Out with early troubles was Paul Menard. He came home in the 36th position out of the 37 cars in the race. So let's go ahead and head back over to the Phoenix Media Center, and we will see what Kevin Harvick had to say after his 3rd straight Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series victory.
Yeah, after I guess it was the 2nd stage, maybe 1st stage, I don't remember which one. When you've got Kyle Busch sticking his finger out the window with his thumb up, talking about the having fun and sending messages on the radio, that everybody's having fun, and I could tell that myself and Kyle and Denny, and the 9, it seemed like those were going to be the guys that it came down to, and just the racetrack opened up and got a couple grooves. And I just told Tony I never could get to a point where I felt like I could slide up like I did in front of the 9 and in front of the 11, and then it wound up costing me a bunch of time, and Kyle wound up getting by us. So just really proud of everybody. After everything this week, everybody just came here just mad, chip on their shoulder, wanting to do exactly what we did today, and that's the type of determination and grit that you want in a race team, and it's there's nothing better to be a part of than something like that, because actions speak a whole lot louder than all the words that I can say this week and tweets that you can send out. The parking that thing in Victory Lane is the most powerful thing, most powerful message that you can send, and says the most about our organization and our team. And to have all 4 cars in the top 10 is something that I've never been a part of at Stewart Haas Racing. I don't know if has that ever happened. Yeah. So it was weird. It was kind of a weird weekend, as I was mad.
That's a weird weekend.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. I was mad.
I was like, what's weird about that?
I was mad all week, and but myself and Clint and Eric were able to spend time together. Clint and I didn't have our motorhomes out here, and Eric spent a lot of time in the trailer working on his race car, and he spent a lot of time with him this week, just really trying to make sure they ran good. And he texted me last night, and he's like, man, our goal, I think we've got a solid top 10 car. I said, dude, you've got a top 5 car. You need to go out and run in the top 5. And so to see him up there, and I saw Clint up there and Kurt winning the stage, that's really the most important thing, because that progression as a race team, when everybody ups the ante on the performance of each car, you learn things from each car and each person, and the confidence and everybody goes up, the confidence in the company goes up, and you just, the evolution of things starts happening more rapidly. And now that the 10 car is in that evolution, it is good for our company. So just really proud of everybody.
All right, now let's take a quick look at the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series points before we head over to St. Petersburg and talk about the IndyCar stuff. As you can see over here, obviously nothing has changed in the win column other than Kevin Harvick knocking off one more. He and Austin Dillon still are the only guys to have won races so far, as Harvick has won 3 of the 4 now. But there are definitely some movers and shakers below that. Kyle Busch jumps 3 spots after his strong run this week up to the 3rd spot, as well as Martin Truex moving up 1 spot, as Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney both moved down 2 spots from their disappointing weekends. Denny Hamlin jumps 2, leapfrogging Brad Keselowski as Kyle Larson goes down 2. Paul Menard, with his very disappointing accident and 36th place finish, drops 4 spots in the points. That bumps Clint Bowyer, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch, and Ryan Newman all up 1 position. Eric Jones jumps 2 spots now into the playoff grid in 15th. Chase Elliott jumping 6 spots. He was 22nd after last week. Now in the 16th spot, back into the playoff grid. So that is your points for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series following the Ticket Guardian 500 at the ISM Raceway. Now we will head down to sunny Florida to the St. Petersburg Street Course for the 2018 Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, round number 1 for the Verizon IndyCar Series in the 2018 season. And 110 laps in this one. And 8 cautions on the day. A lot of cautions, a lot of full course cautions for a street race. Very exciting race, though. Very exciting way to kick off the IndyCar season. We'll have a special guest on Wednesday's RNN Talks to talk about this race. That will be Ryan Marine, a new pit reporter for the IndyCar radio networks. We'll be happy to have him on RNN Talks on Wednesday to break down this race a little more. But Sebastian Bourdais for Dale Coyne Racing picks up the first win of the season. He led 30 laps on the day after a late race scuffle on the final restart took out Really the guy that dominated most of the day, led 69 laps. That was Robert Wickens. And we'll talk about him more in a moment when we get down to there. Graham Rahal comes home with a strong second place finish. Alexander Rossi, kind of the instigator, you could say, in that late race accident on the final restart. Dove it into turn one, I think a little bit too hard. Could not avoid Robert Wickens and sends Wickens up into the wall. Meanwhile, Bourdais gets around him and goes on for the win. James Hinchcliffe and Ryan Hunter-Reay round out the rest of the top five, with Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, your defending IndyCar Series champion, Ed Jones, new to Chip Ganassi Racing, Marco Andretti, and Will Power rounding out the top 10. As we look down through the rest of the field, Robert Wickens, after his very strong day, started on the pole, as we said, led 69 of the 110 laps, just absolutely dominated on the day, and he's a rookie for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. Was really pulling for him to get the win in his first race in his rookie campaign. Was not meant to be. Comes home in the 18th position. So that is your results for the first race of the IndyCar season, the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And I think that will do it for tonight's pole position. I don't want to go too much in depth on the IndyCar race. Like I said, we'll have Ryan Marine on Wednesday's show to talk about the race a little more. He was actually at the race, so we'll be able to pick his brain on everything that happened from that race. So with that, this has been the pole position, where you always start on the front row. Do not forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. It is much appreciated. And don't forget to support us on Patreon. That is patreon.com/racingnewsnow. And it will help us only to grow and get better and bring you the quality content that you deserve. So with that, I am Garth Allen for Racing News Now.